There are crimes defined by violence, there are crimes defined by evidence, and then there are crimes defined by absence. The disappearance of the Springfield Three did not begin with a scream, a witness, or a forced entry. It began with a house that looked exactly the way it should have. No broken windows, no overturned furniture, no signs of panic. 3 women were gone. Everything else remained. In cases like this, the system does not fail loudly. It hesitates quietly. And by the time certainty arrives, there is nothing left to trace. It was June 6th, 1992, in Springfield, Missouri. Graduation night at Kickapoo High School. 18-year-old Stacy McCall and 19-year-old Suzanne Streeter had just completed a milestone that marks transition rather than arrival. Caps and gowns, photographs, promises that had not yet been tested. They were close friends, bonded by proximity, age, and shared plans for the future. After the ceremony, they attended multiple gatherings throughout the night. This was not unusual. Graduation nights are fluid. Locations change. Plans adapt. By early morning, the expectation was simple. The girls would return to Suzanne Streeter's home at 1717 East Delmar Street. Suzanne's mother, Cheryl Levitt, age 47, was already there. She had returned home earlier after finishing her shift as a hairdresser. There was no indication of risk. A parent was present. The neighborhood was residential. The plan was ordinary. That is what makes what followed difficult to interrupt. At approximately 2 o'clock in the morning, witnesses confirmed that Stacy and Suzanne were alive and together. They had left one residence intending to go to another. Sometime between 2:15 and 2:30, that plan changed. Instead of continuing on, they drove to Suzanne's home. This decision did not register as deviation. It did not trigger concern. It aligned with the night winding down. That moment represents the last confirmed point of safety. Everything after exists without verification. Later that morning, friends arrived at the Delmar Street house. There was no response at the door. The door was unlocked. Inside, the house appeared intact. Purses were present. Keys were accounted for. Cash remained inside wallets. Stacy McCall's clothing had been neatly folded. Beds appeared, slept in. Suzanne's dog, a Yorkshire Terrier named Cinnamon, was inside the house, visibly agitated. An answering machine held messages. During the confusion, one message was played and then erased. That recording was never recovered. According to the Springfield Police Department, the house showed no signs of a struggle. The official case file would later describe the scene as consistent with abduction rather than violence occurring inside the home. This distinction matters. It means the event did not announce itself. Initially, those who arrived believed the women had gone out early or were sleeping elsewhere. This assumption delayed escalation. As concern grew, more people entered the home. Friends, family, visitors, acting in good faith. They touched surfaces. They answered phones. They moved through rooms. By the time police secured the residence, the environment had been compromised. Officers would later acknowledge that the critical early window had been lost. From the start, the case existed with reduced clarity. Investigators documented what remained. 3 women missing. 3 vehicles still parked outside. A porch light shattered. A front door unlocked. Nothing else. There was no forced entry. No clear timeline. No verified witnesses. Tips began arriving. Thousands of them. Some placed the women at parties earlier in the night. Others claimed sightings near the home. A small number alleged that 3 women had been forced into a van. None of these accounts could be corroborated. The volume of information created noise rather than direction. Over time, multiple individuals were examined. One was Robert Craig Cox, a convicted kidnapper and suspected killer. In 1997, Cox told journalists that he knew what had happened to the Springfield Three and claimed they were buried somewhere in Springfield. He refused to provide details. Law enforcement investigated his claims. No physical evidence linked him to the crime. Other men were questioned, acquaintances, criminal offenders, former partners. Each inquiry ended the same way: suspicion without substantiation. According to retired Springfield Police Captain Tony Glenn, the only unusual thing about the house was that 3 women were missing from it. That statement is not rhetorical, it is procedural. Three primary explanations have persisted. The first is voluntary entry, that the women allowed someone inside, which would explain the lack of forced entry and the absence of a struggle. The second is opportunistic violence, a predator encountering the house by chance during a period of national increase in serial crimes. The third is multiple offenders, a scenario required to account for control without audible resistance. Each theory aligns with some evidence, none resolve the case. Without a body, a weapon, or a confirmed timeline, theory remains static. For the families, time did not dilute urgency. Stacy McCall's mother, Janice, remained publicly vocal for decades. She continued to engage with investigators and media until her death in 2021. Suzanne Streeter's brother, Bart, has repeatedly appealed for information, emphasizing the need for closure over speculation. Cheryl Levitt's family has waited quietly, year after year, without answers. In unresolved cases, families are forced into permanence. There is no transition point. The Springfield Three became embedded in national consciousness. The case appeared on America's Most Wanted, Unsolved Mysteries, and in multiple national publications. People magazine and other outlets focused on the same fixed details: the cars, the erased message, the dog left behind. These details endure because they never change. Springfield police continue to classify the case as active. A reward remains available. Every anniversary resets attention, but not progress. This case does not end with discovery. It ends with absence. There is no evidence strong enough to move the system forward. No error dramatic enough to correct. No final action that can be reversed. 3 women disappeared without resistance, without record, and without trace. The house on Delmar Street was not remarkable. That is what allowed everything to happen quietly. And that is why, more than 30 years later, the case remains unresolved. This was not a failure of effort. It was a failure of certainty. This was a disturbing disappearance horror story. And until proof replaces silence, the Springfield Three remain exactly where the system left them. Unlocated, unresolved, waiting. If you'd like to stay with Entity Shadows for more carefully documented stories told with restraint and respect, you're welcome to subscribe.